Hey, good morning. This is Spirit Journey. Today is January 16, 2017, and it is 7:30 a.m. I'm doing this early morning video in response to the death of Eddie Long. It'll just be my general thoughts about him and life in general, oh, as it pertains to my spiritual walk. Well, firstly, my condolences to the family and friends of Pastor Eddie Long. I know that he had a very controversial life pertaining to some allegations that came out around 2011. I first was introduced to, I never been to his church or anything like that. I learned about him initially over the internet. And I was, let's see, during, I think, the period of maybe 2005 and 2009, between those times, that's when I first was introduced to his channel, but I think more early, 2005, 2006. But somewhere in between there, I was initially exposed to his um, his his um, his church. Back then, I was still a Christian. I as I mentioned in many of my videos, I was introduced to Christianity in my early 20s, and I came and went, to different churches, but I was still a believer in, you know, um, traditional Christianity, So I, however, now I'm not a follower of Christianity, and I'm on a spirit journey. The process was gradual. I do believe that there is a higher being and intelligence. And I know that the world was made with intelligence, a consciousness. That I do believe. But during this early part, my exposing myself, going on to YouTube and the internet in general, I was still seeking, during this time, 2005, 2009, I was heavily following the Christian circle. My focus now was, back at that time, was about Bible prophecy. It was so exclusive. And Eddie Long, and there was another minister station in Texas, Jake's, and I saw a little bit of him over the internet. And that's what my Christian walk was like. I was just trying to find out when Jesus is coming, read my Bible, read the book of Revelation many, many times, and just try to make sense out of the Bible. And as time went on, I had more confusion, more questions. And I believe now that what I was taught about the Bible and Christianity, that even if it's 1 degree deviation, it's not the same thing. It's not what I was taught what Christianity was all about. But as for, Eddie Long, my initial impression of him, I might have even seen his program. It might have been aired on TBN. That's a Christian network. That was my first introduction to the Christian over the internet. That channel, and then on that show they have different pastors that might speak. So it might have been that way how I might have been introduced to Eddie Long. He looked like a strong guy, and he looked very well groomed. In particular, this one video that one sermon that I saw of him was a woman, an older, woman could have been like in her 60s, and she ran up to the front of the altar, in complete frustration, and I think she was crying. She was in like a rage of anguish. She pulls off her wig and just exposing just little knobs of hair. I was shocked at seeing that. But he comforted her through, his words. He's saying, just let it out, and that actually is my really first memory of, of Eddie Long. And, I just saw him just a handful of times over the internet. And then kind of a little fast forward, I started hearing some allegations about him being involved with, young men, teens in his church. I didn't feel comfortable in watching that information. But it's part of it's part of history, and so I have to mention that. I can't pretend that that didn't happen. Again, I don't know whether the allegations were true or not, but it was out there in the media. I guess what I want to say with that, and why I'm doing this video at this time, because I want to say while it's still in my mind, fresh in my mind, when I was a follower of the church, the Christian church, at one time I lived in St. Thomas. That's in the U.S. Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. I was attending this church. It was like a Pentecostal in its flavor. And there was a woman that I met at this church. And I even moved in with her and her husband. She had a spare room that she was willing to rent out, and I rented it. And I knew her from the church. And so I felt safe in moving in, and I would have a chance to maybe save some money. Things are expensive, and it would help her out and her husband to get funds. In the West, island life is very expensive. You don't get paid a lot of money, and so I thought it was a win-win for all of us. And you had someone that you can talk to. So that was my logic. She had mentioned in many conversations. She wasn't a leader. She had a position in the church. She was well liked in the church. She would assist the pastor and the pastor's wife. They had a close relationship. I don't want to apply anything illicit with that. No, it was innocent. But she mentioned in many conversations we had that when you're out in the pulpit and you're doing a sermon, it's like a rush that you get. And I mean that's my word, a rush. But you're out there, you're in front of your congregation, and you're open. Your spirit is open, and that's how you're able to deliver the messages. But she mentioned that at that point, that's when you're susceptible to attacks. Like right after your service, and the pastor goes behind the scenes, and you're prone to attacks from the enemy, sexual attacks. And you have to be guarded. And because you're open to anything good or anything bad. And the reason why I'm making this video is because of this, that when I address this to any person who's, a minister, regardless of your religious tradition, that when you're out there and when you go behind the scenes, when you finish your service, whatever, you better put some type of spiritual covering on you, because the doors are open and you're prone to attack. And in particular, sexual attack. Attack from women coming on to you, or men coming on to you, whatever. And they'll attach itself to you. And then that seems like when all the scandals seem to come, things come out, that maybe something happened to him and these other ministers out there, that a door was open and they forgot to close it sooner. They didn't close it fast enough, and a sexual energy attaches itself to them, and the rest is history. So I also say this in part, for this video, that we have to be careful, and especially when we are leaders or people looking up to us, that we're susceptible, and we may have started out with all purity in heart, and then something happens, or you get tempted, or the door was open, and I also share this because the same person who shared me this information, she was a lesbian, and she had made sexual advances to. I didn't realize what was going on at first. Just something, I felt uncomfortable, and I just thought maybe it's my imagination. No. This person's telling me these things because she had a problem. And I thought, well, how could that be? Because she's married. It happened to her. And when that person tried to make advances to me, I flew out of there. I got out of her place, took all my stuff out. And the same person even, I changed churches. And then the person followed me in the car once, and then came to find out where I live, and went to my new church. And I told the pastor, my new pastor, what was going on and who was following me. And she was, I was only there, I think one or twice, and she had sat right next to me with her husband there. I had an aisle seat, and she sat on the other side of the aisle, right next to me. So I say this that if something like that could be someone trying to tempt me, and someone could tempt you. Someone can do something to you. My other thing that I wanted to say was that I see that this is 2017 now, and I sense very strongly that there's like a new dispensation, that the old, the mega churches, the traditional Christianity, the culture of America, that you had an old school that I was raised under, but now a new thing is coming in, and new doesn't necessarily mean good, but that it's a shift. That's what I'm trying to get at. It seems to be a shift happening globally, not just the U.S., globally. Whether you live on an island or a large continent, there are things that are changing, and I can't stress to try to anchor yourself. I know I need anchoring, because anybody's susceptible to any type of change, spiritual change, energetic change, So I need to do more meditation, and just to feel grounded, So that's basically all that I want to say right now, and that life is what it is, and we just have to be guarded, that all of us are susceptible to any type of attack. So let me know what your comments are. You can just share them below on this video when I post it. Definitely share this video with friends, family members. You could subscribe to Spirit Journey. And once again, you can give me the thumbs up if you like. So peace and joy. Bye-bye, guys.